Hey guys, this is Market Update. We are breaking into all-time highs again. It's a really important part of the cycle, and so we're going to look at that in this video, how things are going to shape up over the next 6 to 12 months. These phases are very distinct. Bitcoin is very, very cyclical, and so we can get a good idea about what's going to happen. So as you can see here, what happened over the last few weeks, I think one of the bankruptcy estates was actually liquidating their Bitcoin. I think it was Genesis potentially, and that's what we see right here. These are 1 week candles. So last week, you can see that a huge sell-off from probably the Genesis bankruptcy estate. This is actually a hammer. It's a very, very bullish pattern because you get this big sell-off into support, and then we actually just basically reverse that whole thing, and now we're printing a green candle. So it looks like those sellers are done. That bankruptcy estate is done. There are way more sellers and bankruptcy estates left to go. So these things happen, but you can just very clearly see that we are in one of Bitcoin's massive expansion phases at this point. This green box is a previous all-time high. You can see here that we've just come into it, chopped around, traded, which is actually very good, right? Getting rid of sellers. You can see that buyers are in this market for BTC. I just don't expect that to finish. Got the halving right here as well next month. Potentially on 20th of April, 420. So let's see if it actually comes on that day. If you do trade Bybit deposit bonus, just click the link below in the description. You can get up to $30,000 as a deposit and trading bonus there. Bitcoin and crypto are incredibly cyclical assets. And we'll look at that data now to show exactly where we are in the cycle. Cycles are important because that's what we need to kind of think about when making plans about our own finances. Do we actually want to take risk and invest here? Do we want to scale back a little bit? Or, if you're at the top of the cycle, is that time for you to maybe take some, Bitcoin and actually swap it into something that would improve your life, right? Pay off the car, house improvements or something like that, right? That's all a great use of investments. That's the point. Just selling to take profits in dollars is not really what an investor does. Although if you're trading, then obviously that's something you can do as well. But an investor's really thinking at least 8 years of investment, and then those cycles become a lot more clear. And then at the top of cycles, you can actually improve your life. That's really what investing is. So you can see that all of these assets move in tandem at this point. It's because the central banks have this grip on the fiat currency, and they're debasing it, and then raising interest rates and bankrupting everyone, and then debasing it again. So they're all reacting to this. The thing with Bitcoin is that we're in the golden era, and we're only going to get one, and this is it. Bitcoin is moving from small invention, probably will fail, not really sure. And now it's not that anymore. It's moving into huge worldwide investable asset. We're going to get this one opportunity, and this is it. It won't ever happen again. And as it gets larger and more mature, the alpha, the outperformance is obviously going to come down. Still a lot of outperformance at this point. So for me, these cycles are great. These red years are the best because you're getting this asset with this huge fundamental outperformance at much lower prices. That's actually where you're making the money, right? Because you're investing at lower prices in this asset. So these cycles are important for psychology and making sure that we can actually improve our life. But look, it's all one trade at this point, which is fiat currency debasement. Everything moves in tandem. And so we're going to get this one chance of outperformance. And it's not short term. We could get this outperformance, and this is, going to outperform for, let's say, a decade, right? And so we can make sure that we gain into this outperformance as well. There's some great data here on the macro cycle as well, exactly where we are. So obviously this leads into Bitcoin and asset prices. You can see the drawdown here during the Bitcoin bear market. We're basically, coming out into an expansion phase here. What this is, the government and the central bank working together to hoodwink all of us. Because what they have to do is print money, right, to debase the debt. They have to do that. But they can't just do it all the time because then inflation gets out of control. So what they have to do is create this year or so of this down cycle and then slow the economy, get inflation down, and then they print loads of money. And of course, 18 months later, you get this big spike in inflation. And they're like, oh, the inflation's high. Well, of course it is. You just printed loads of money. You debased the currency that buys the things that people want to buy. And so the price of those things obviously has to go up. They have to keep doing this over and over again. What's important, right, is that all of this stuff uses the dollar to price assets, which is totally wrong. What we need to do is price assets in Bitcoin. So for example, If house prices go down and food prices go down and energy prices go down and Bitcoin goes down in price, who cares? Because you don't want dollars. Dollars aren't an asset. They're just a pricing mechanism that's actually being printed. So as long as Bitcoin is outperforming energy and food and housing, you're all good. Doesn't matter what the dollar price is, right? Dollar price is irrelevant at this point. Everything has to be priced in a real currency, a real asset, money, which is BTC. And so looking at Bitcoin versus dollars is, of course it's going to go up. They keep printing more of it. We want to know, is Bitcoin actually buying us more energy, food, and housing? And it is over time. I'll show you that. This economic cycle is continuing, so the dollar price is going to go up over the next 12 months. You can see that this is the NASDAQ. Very cyclical, spring, summer, fall. You can see that here. Obviously, winter. These winters are when they actually take dollars out of the system, right? To create these drops in inflation and everything, and that bankruptcy cycle. In order so the next 12 months they can print loads more money, right? And then hoodwink everyone, say we're printing money. You don't realize yet, but then in 18 months' time, inflation comes back, and obviously these assets are going to price that in again. Remember, what this is a pricing mechanism. Pricing mechanism in dollars. Dollars are getting printed ad infinitum, so the asset's going to go up in value. But what we really want to find out is what's the asset priced in Bitcoin, because that's the real money that we actually use. So this is Bitcoin right here. It actually follows the same cycles because we're all looking at the American central bank. They manipulate everything. All our debt is in dollars, and so they're going to manipulate this system. We have to just extract ourselves from that system and say, I hold Bitcoin, and everything that I desire is getting cheaper in Bitcoin. I think it's important to look at Bitcoin priced in assets that you would actually want to buy and that would make you wealthier, rather than dollars. Dollars the base, right? So they're not desirable. We don't want dollars. We don't want dollars. We don't want to trade. We want to get wealthier. We don't want dollars. This is oil priced in Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin is outperforming energy. So if you hold Bitcoin, you're becoming wealthier. You can buy more energy. This is Bitcoin priced against the VNQ, which is the US real estate index. If you own Bitcoin, you can afford more house. You're becoming wealthier with Bitcoin. You won't become wealthier with dollars. You have to get out. So you need to have an asset. And so maybe stocks are great. Housing obviously goes up in dollar terms. Of course it does, because they're debasing the currency. You have to get out of the currency. So you need an asset. And Bitcoin is making us wealthier. The reason why Bitcoin is so desirable, and I believe it will continue to outperform other large-scale assets, is because of one thing. It isn't an enterprise. It's a digital scarcity, money, no CEO, no centralized business around it. That's important because businesses, securities are so risky. That's why you have to diversify and put them in indexes. All businesses eventually fail, either through their own incompetence, they're getting too big and too woke, right? Or they get broken up by governments because they're too powerful. Now you're seeing that right now with Apple and some of the other tech stocks who are getting destroyed now by the US government and the EU government, right? They're trying to destroy their monopoly. Now, a monopoly is great for investors, but governments don't like it. And so when a monopoly occurs, which we do have right now with US tech, the government's going to step in and steal all of their stuff. That's what's happening. And that's why businesses have, a ceiling to which they can get to in terms of their valuation. But Bitcoin doesn't. Bitcoin will never undergo any government coming in and saying it's a monopoly, we've got to split it up. They literally can't. The only thing they can do is ban it from their country, and you just set up a wallet on your phone. And so that's why Bitcoin is special and why it can outperform all of these assets over a 10, 15 year time frame. So Bitcoin is going through a typical expansion phase right now. What is an expansion phase? It's when new entrants come in and have to pay more for Bitcoin to take it out of the hands of people that already hold it. So we price that through dollars, right? So the dollar price goes up. But also we've seen it's going up in oil terms, it's going up in housing terms as well, right? That's the real outperformance. Because what we're saying here is that these people are having to give us more energy and housing for our Bitcoin. So we're getting wealthier. And that pricing mechanism comes through dollars, but it's outperforming everything, right? People that want Bitcoin and understand that are paying more housing and oil for our property right now. So these hodl waves show that. Again, there's no price here, but it's showing that during these expansion phases, more stuff, more wealth has to be given to you to part with your Bitcoin. So we're seeing that here, right? We're seeing that expansion come up, but again, nowhere near the top for this, this cycle. So I think still within the investable zone, but obviously we're getting more and more mature in this. And you can see that play out here as well. So these are long-term holders on the top in blue, short-term holders in red. Again, what's happening here? You're getting new entrants who want to swap their assets for Bitcoin. These guys who have been in a bit longer and maybe saying, actually, yeah, the price right now is pretty good. So I think that you're paying a reasonable price to me and I can swap this Bitcoin for more house or more energy or more things that I need to improve my life. So again, the dollar price doesn't matter. Right? It's just a conduit pricing mechanism. We're seeing that happen here slowly, right? So seeing, again, we're in an expansion phase because new entrants are coming in, pushing the price up. And so, yes, people that have been in for a long time maybe say, now's the time I want to take some of that wealth off the table and buy myself more property or more food or more oil. Seeing that here, it's the same thing, right? So again, we're coming into that expansion phase. And this is MVRVZ. So for me, I just want to be very cautious when MVRV is up at the top here. That's showing very, very overdone prices. Again, no dollars here, just with the expansion phases of the Bitcoin price in relation to oil and housing. We are still under kind of halfway. So this is obviously a big buy zone for BTC. Up here, still not overheated, right? Nowhere near. We still haven't had that big expansion that we usually get. Could happen in 2 months, could happen in 8 months. Don't really know, but that big expansion where you spike MVRV up to this red zone, that shows really the kind of top of a bull market, but nowhere near that right now. Still kind of, for a long-term investor, I think you're just still dollar cost averaging and being consistent. Bybit deposit bonus down in the description. Also, the crypto investor course link down there goes into more detail about how Bitcoin is the real pricing mechanism so that we can actually get wealthier rather than this kind of dollar system, which is just, failing essentially at this point. All links down below. I'm James, it's MyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.